Inside the Mind of, brought to you by VIP Framing. The international debut for Singapore came at around this age, I believe.
Yeah.
How? Tell me how this happened. Tell me how a player playing on the street, playing for Dortmund, sixth tier of Germany, to now representing his country.
Yes. So that's actually a crazy story. So, I mean, you see, I was a young boy, 17, 18, playing senior football in Germany, in the lower leagues. But I wanted to play somewhere higher up and top level, And in Germany, it's similar to the UK and England. It's very, very tough. There's so much competition, so many good players. So it's very tough to get seen. But what I always had is that Singaporean heritage. So I was born in Singapore. My mom is from Singapore. So in the back of my mind, I always had that, idea that, maybe one day I could try Singapore, because Singapore is obviously so much smaller. And so it would be much easier for me to stand out there. So one day I just spoke to my family and said, I would actually be interested to represent Singapore, and surely they would be interested to have me, a boy with Singaporean heritage on their team. So we actually had a distant relative in Singapore who used to be a footballer there as well, and I contacted him and asked him how can we make this happen, and he just asked me basically to send a few videos of mine, of myself playing, and then we would see. So that's what I did. I recorded a few of my games, sent it over, and then they actually invited me over. They said, come over. So it was actually just the winter break here in Germany, so it was perfectly. I played the last game before the winter break, and then I flew over to Singapore, and there was nothing really planned. It was just planned that I play a few friendly games, and then I returned back to Germany, But actually, I didn't end up returning back to Germany. I stayed there, I played a few friendly games, and then everything went very, very fast. It was people scouted me, and then straight away the national team was interested, and then also a professional club in the Singapore Premier League wanted to sign me. So I actually ended up staying in Singapore for much longer than initially expected.
Well, I wish you the best, of course, with that football, managerial, and of course, ownership duty.
Media man, head of social media.
You never ever know. And why would an owner, so the complete opposite of yourself, a lazy owner, why would they even want to own a football club in the first place? Why is it worth their time?
Honestly, mate, there's not an answer to that. Again, I think that's a fantastic question. I think people have, because they do well in life, so they might have a successful business, or they might make a bit of money, or they might inherit a bit of money. Their hobby might be football, so they put that into a football club. But I think a lot of these people, what they do is they invest into a football club, they put their money into it, they own a football club, and then they realise, oh wow, there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. So they end up getting themselves in a little bit of pickle. The amount of managers at the moment, I'm sure you've seen, even in the professional game, they're having so many problems because they're not running the football club correctly. The biggest one right now is Man United. It's not run properly. It's not run. How can Manchester United not have a sporting director? Anyone with the same, me and you could work that out in 5 minutes on this podcast, but a multi-billionaire can't work that out. It's ludicrous. It's crazy, to think that. I think a Step 4 club should have a sporting director. It might sound over the top, but they need someone to be that sort of. I've always said, right, if I'm a chairman, I need someone between me and the manager, someone who communicates between both, someone who could hear both sides and be a reference. You need that at all levels to be successful. So how can Manchester United not have that? So, I think Gary Neville gets a lot of stick. And listen, mate, he does say some things where you think, bloody hell, Gary. But he is totally right when he says the structure at Manchester United is horrendous. How can you have no sporting director? How can you buy players who are 31 on 6-year deals? These are just crazy decisions that, quite simply, mate, they come down to one root problem. There is no organisation within the football club. Organisation is your biggest friend. It's like planning your day, right? The more planning I do on my week, the more successful I am in that week, the more money I make, the more conversations I have. If I don't put anything in my planner, nothing happens because I just don't know what I'm doing at any time. So planning is your biggest friend, and organisation is really successful. The key to being successful in non-league professional game, in my opinion.
But I do this for 2-3 more years, and after that, I will do something else.
What would be a satisfactory result then? So if the 2 or 3 years comes to an end and you may be at a different kind of club, what club would you have wanted that to be?
Well, for me, it's the most important where the the players are professional, where the staff is professional, where you have all these resources to do a good job, where you have the resources to meet in the morning, to talk to your colleagues, to plan the sessions, to plan to scout the trainings, to scout the opponents, to talk to player development, to have the trainings, to have time to talk to players after the trainings, individual meetings, collective meetings, to sit with the colleagues after the trainings, and then go home. Like an office work, from 8 to 5. And I have the opportunity to play for titles, to play in for full spectators with the stands fully crowded, because I like the nerve, I like the passion. You can see when I'm talking, I'm getting fired up, because I like to compete at high level, and I like the press and stress. So this environment for me in Gibraltar is the wrong environment right now, regarding all of these things I'm talking about. I had a good environment in Faroe Islands. I think it was amazing. I had good environments in Sweden, but here in Gibraltar, I think it's the worst ever for a football coach regarding this professional setup that I'm used to and what I'm looking for. So what the future can bring, I don't know. I hope the hard work, as I told you, and the results I'm doing with all these clubs before, and the results I'm doing currently with Europa Point, like maybe we're going to talk about it, that they have been the last team for all the years they played football, and now we're currently fourth. So I'm doing something right. So hopefully someone will see this and acknowledge this and give me a better chance to work at higher level, because I know what I'm capable of and what I can do. I just need the chance to do it. But if I don't do it, if I don't get it, no more Dali Savic in football.
What would you turn your mind to? What would you rather do?
I have no idea. I have been doing football coaching for 23 years and playing for 20. So, I mean, it's all my life. It's all about football, and all my knowledge is about football. But as I told you, it has to be worth it. And now it's like 50-50 if it is.
What's the best thing about being a professional footballer?
That's a great question. I think the main one, and the one that I say the most of the time, I play football. Like, I think a lot of people had missed up on it, and they say, it's the fame, it's the news interviews, it's the publicity, it's stuff like that, which I think is great. And I one of the people that do enjoy that. I do enjoy going on Chris MD videos, or going on This Morning, or stuff like that. And I think that's something that I think in a very privileged position to do. But I play football as my main job. I play the sport I love not just a pastime, an occupation, and going out on the pitch and something that I want to do. It's not I'm going to work, going through heavy hours to travel to work, and then doing something I don't love. I love playing football, and I do it, which is, I think, the proudest thing that you can do.
When you got Manchester United, the build up to the draw, what was going on?
I nearly crashed the car. I was going back down to Newport on the M1, and my phone just went into overload. Was meltdown, and when it came up on I think it was my daughter Shannon. Actually, she rang me and she was screaming down the phone, "I got Man United, Man United, Man United!" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" So I nearly crashed my car going down the M1 when we heard. But we'd actually drew on the Saturday against Eastleigh, and they got a late penalty, which was obviously, we got an apology on the Monday, the morning of the game, or the morning of the FA Cup draw. And I'm thinking, oh no, Man United in the next round. We've got to get past Eastleigh first. But there was so much. As soon as Man United come out, the pressure then that gets heaped on the players, the pressure that gets heaped on them young shoulders, ramped up. And Eastleigh's shoulders as well, because it would have been a pressure situation, a pressure game for both sets of players. And I have to say, both sets of players dealt with the occasion really, really well, to be honest. But yeah, just, I suppose, what the old cliche, concentrate on the next game. Don't worry about the cup. Don't worry about Man United. impossible. Everybody's thinking about it. Everybody's talking about it. There's flights being booked from Dublin. There's people looking for tickets. There's a new stand going up behind the goal. And here I am trying to tell people in the dressing room and the media, no, we're just concentrating on Saturday. We're just concentrating on our next opponent. And you're looking around and you're thinking, well, there's no one thinking about your next opponent. But we were quite lucky because our next opponents, sandwiched in between Man United, was when we beat Eastleigh, was Wrexham before and Swindon after. So they were going to be full houses, and they kept the stand in as well, the false stand that they erected. So they were always going to be sellouts. The Wrexham game was brilliant, rivalry, two Welsh clubs, the build up to that as well. So it was a special month, to be honest. It was a really special month. Training then goes to the next level, as you can imagine. People with broken legs and their head falling off their shoulders are now all of a sudden fit to play. It was just brilliant. Just trying to get tickets sorted, though. The Wrexham game was a nightmare. We just couldn't get enough tickets for people. And then the Man United one, and then the Swindon one. It was just trying to get everybody sorted and trying to get on top of things. And then obviously then you got the media. So I had no real time to slow down and to sit down and have a word with myself or plan anything or do anything. Well, the first thing you say, and I think every manager will say this to any team that goes out in the park, keep it tight. First 10 minutes, make sure it's nice and tight. Don't give anything away, nothing silly, nothing sloppy, all that. And within 10 minutes, you're 2-0 down. And we're thinking, oh my God, this could go 4, 5, 6 before half time. So we made 1 or 2 adjustments. And in fairness, we trained for 3 things. There was no point in me telling the lads, they all know Man United, they all watch Man United. So there's no point in me doing or overcooking the Man United.
Of course, you had quite a moment with him when he offered you a bottle of wine at the end of that game. Could you talk me through that when a Premier League manager's come up to you and then just giving you a bottle of wine?
Yeah, look, it was a nice gesture. It was a nice gesture from the club. I think he said Sir Alex Ferguson sent it down. So yeah, it was a lovely gesture. A bit of class. Again, the standards, the class is permanent, isn't it? So Manchester United have always been a class outfit. So yeah, it was a nice touch. And as a little bit, I didn't know what to. I don't drink wine, so I didn't know what to say. I just said, listen, I prefer Budweiser, but I'll take the wine. And anyway, and then when he told me how much it was, I said, oh, you better take it. So, but yeah, I was just trying to break the ice and just trying to have a little bit of a moment. And I think it was well set up for them because obviously Man U TV was there. They caught it. I always think if you're going to do something like that, maybe it should be done in private. But Man U TV was there. It was set up for, good publicity, would we say. So yeah, I just break the ice and shook his hand and on my go, yeah, we offered him a beer upstairs and things like that. He didn't quite take us up on that offer. So, but hey, that's each to their own.
Having lost 3 FA Cup semi-finals, by the way, Jamie, when I left in '86, Coventry went and won the FA Cup in '87. So it must have been me. It got to be me.
Well, it's just unfortunate luck, I suppose, isn't it?
It was sad. It was sad. It was a sad day to leave.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What was that like? What was your last game like? Did the fans know that you were going to leave?
No, nobody knew I was leaving. It was the way it was done. He said, I won't say who it was, but he said, here's a contract, take it or leave it. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So I'll leave it. And then I was offered the Swindon Town player manager's job, which Tommy Docherty got me an interview, and they offered me that job. When I got back, Bobby Gould I'd played with on twice he came to Wolves to play. He was Coventry City manager. He rang me up. He said, I want you to come and play for me. So that's the way I went. I to stay in the first division. I had another 2-year contract. I thought that would do. And that's what I did. I went to Coventry.
For the levels that people know today, Coventry at the time were in the Championship. Bristol Rovers that you later went to go and play on were in League Two. Just quickly summing up the time at Wolves, 574 appearances, 114 goals, and the club's second highest appearance maker to this day. History maker. Unbelievable. This is not even a millisecond of... Not a millisecond, 0.0001% of happening. This is insane. What do you think of when you look at 16 years? Because no one can remember that time at 16 years, but to stay at a club, one club, for 16 years is quite something.
It was, my wife was local. I'd met so many nice people. The club was always good to me, even in the relegation years. Yes, there were several opportunities to move on. I wasn't interested. We were settled as a family, and I think that paid. That was the reason why we stayed there for so long. But I had no intention of moving. I didn't even think about asking for transfers or going in knocking on the manager's door. All I was hoping that when the manager calls you in, he would offer you a new contract, and that's it. I signed it. No, I loved every minute at Wolves. I still got a great feeling. The fans have been fantastic to me since. Every time I go there, they're wonderful. So that was my life. That was my football career. And the American thing and the Coventry thing and the Bristol Rovers, Wolves was the place for me.
I believe after all of this, after the England C team, you decided that the Pakistan national team, or I suppose you got offered a contract by the Pakistan national team to be an analyst at the start. How did you get this job? It can't have just been an applying on the CV on LinkedIn.
No. Again, what I've learned in football is how important it is to build your connections and your links. And this opportunity actually came way back with the boss, with Stephen Constantine. I was engaged with him on LinkedIn about 3 years ago, and we just kept in contact. And out of the blue, one time when he was in India working for the Indian Super League with East Bengal, he asked me if I could do some analysis stuff. Now, at the time, I'd done very limited analysis stuff. Like I did some stuff like on VO with Burke Hampstead, and I actually started to really enjoy it. So it came at a really good time. And he said, "Would you want to give it a go?" kind of thing. And I did. And as time passed, we built a connection, and he just straight and up said, he said, "Look, I love the way that you see the game. If there's any possible opportunities in the future of bringing you in, would you be interested?" And of course I said yes. Now, when the Pakistan job came up for the boss, I wasn't too sure how it would be for me. Obviously, being with an Indian background, I just wasn't too sure how that would kind of come about. But look, I've got nothing but positive things to say about the Pakistan national team and the people there. They made me feel so welcome and safe, and there was no issues. In fact, I just hope that my appointment will help break down future barriers, because I know there's political stuff involved, and all I want to say is I was treated brilliantly, and I love my experience there with Pakistan national team. I'm really proud to have represented the country,
Inside the Mind of, brought to you by VIP Framing.